Hi, I'm Carissa Giles. I'm the service specialist here at Frontier. It's 10 o'clock, so we'll go ahead and get started with the webinar. This webinar is for comprehensive life resources, and they're using of the Survey 123 to collect and monitor homeless research data. So I'd like to introduce the Comprehensive Life Resources Company to you a little bit here and how the program got started. So back in 2014, the city of Tacoma, Washington had a meeting throughout the community, and they were looking for some more community input on identifying gaps in what the city is providing for services, for people to voice their concerns, and to share any remedy ideas they had on the issues. So after they got all this feedback from this meeting, they decided to start a new program to partner with Comprehensive Life Resources on a program called Positive Interactions. So what the Positive Interactions does is it works with the homeless individuals and is an outreach program where they can contact these individuals and offer them services. It also works with the local businesses and their consumers that are receiving negative impact from homeless-related issues. So they work with both parties in trying to reach middle ground and to be able to work together. And you can see from the chart here that they don't just work with, it's not going to zoom in, but you can see that they work both evenly with the businesses and the clients. The services they offer to the homeless individuals are dispersed throughout the city and is a wide variety of services from housing to finance support to transportation. So we'll do a poll question real quick. So how many of you is your organization looking to replace paper forms with some sort of data collection software? Okay, so it looks like a good amount of you are looking to replace paper forms with some sort of data collection software. That's kind of the same boat that Comprehensive Life Resources was in. When they first started putting this program into action, they were using Microsoft Word fillable forms. The problem with those is that they couldn't be used out in the field. They could be they'd go out into the field and they'd collect the data for this client and business information and they'd write it down. Then they'd come back to the office and fill out these forms on the computer. That often led to large gaps of time between when the interaction happened and when the form was filled out and submitted, which would often cause loss of data as you're trying to transcribe that from paper over to the Word fillable form, and sometimes it would just get lost altogether. They also didn't have much for analyzing the data they had. They would put it into Excel format and be able to track data from there. Part of their agreement with the city of Tacoma is they had to create reports and send it to the city every month to show the work that they've been doing. They later switched from the Microsoft Word fillable forms over to a PDF, which was a little easier, but it still left a lot to desire. So why did we start them on Survey 123? There's quite a few options out there for data collection software. They were mostly looking for use of Android and iOS devices to help keep their costs low where they're a nonprofit organization. So low cost was one of the key factors with that option to use the Android and iOS devices. They also had multiple users. So not only were they going to use this for their Positive Interactions program, they were also going to use it for their PATH program. So that made quite a few more field crew members into that pool of who was going to be using it. The company also hasn't had much background with GPS and GIS software, so they wanted it user-friendly and not a whole lot of training required to be able to use this software. They also wanted to be able to view the data in real time, so as soon as the field crew collected it, they could sync it back to the office, and the people in the office could then view the data. Of course, if you're using a data collection software, you want a GPS location to go with it to help make some maps and to see where at in the city they're going. They also needed the option to create the reports that they had to give to the city of Tacoma and to use filtering and analyzing tools to see the demographics and sort of things and do weekly reports so that they could see where they're at on track for the end of the month. So we'll go ahead and cut to the survey. So this is a copy of their survey. Unfortunately, we can't actually show their demo their software because of the personal information that's in there. So we've created a copy here. So this is the Survey 123 app that'll either go on Windows, Android, or iOS. So to actually collect a survey, you'll click this collect button. And so this is kind of what their survey looks like, where they were trying to use it for both the positive interactions and the PATH program. They had some different data fields that needed to be filled out for different programs. So here, if they wanted to do the PATH program, it would bring up the PATH information. And if they want to do positive interactions, then it would pop up the positive interactions information. They also had a referral type, so they wanted to know who was referring them to this business or client. So we can see the different information here, and it's got the referral names and numbers and some comments filled. So we'll go ahead and collect one for a business. So we'll do a local diner. And you can see here, you can put some default information in there. So for their zip code, it was going to stay the same, and then we wanted to format it so they couldn't enter any extra data. So you can see when she hit the limit, it doesn't let you type anymore. Survey 123 does allow you to attach photos as attachments in the feature service. So if you wanted to add a photo of the business or who was there, they could take a picture of that. So we'll go ahead and finish filling out the client information. And you'll see here we've got a hint that tells them to capitalize the first letter, so that way it's formatted similar throughout the form. On the birthdays, it automatically pops up a calendar, and you can just scroll to the year and date. So we'll just put that in there. And you can see I've got a field here to automatically calculate the current age, which comes off that birthday field. And they're multi-choice. You have a few different options for display. So you have this one where you can drop it down in the list, and it's compact. This next one is an autofill, so you just start typing the options, and it'll bring them up for you. One of the other reasons that they liked Survey 123 is that it had the option to do multiple choice questions. So you could click whichever option or options they are there, and it would select them all. Same with the services offered. You can select multiple in here. Again, here's the hint. So they had different levels that had different standards of meeting them. So instead of having a long description in the choice there, we decided to have it short with a hint at the top. One other thing they needed is the time they've spent with the client. So this would allow them to select a time they spent with that client, and it automatically populates the minutes. The hours will be set if they've run it to the nearest hour. So you can see there it's got 8 hours, so it doesn't do it in a decimal. The GPS, it'll automatically pick it up, and you can average it if you would like by pressing and holding on the GPS location there. So now that we've got the form filled out, we'll go ahead and submit it. And you have the choice to either send later, send now, or continue the survey. So if you need to come back and add some information, you can do send later and it'll go to your sent box. But we've finished it, so we'll go ahead and send now. And I'll go ahead and send the data. So now it's synced back to the feature service. The next part of what they wanted was to be able to view the clients in there. At first, when we launched this software for them, Survey 123 didn't have this inbox option. So now they have it there where you can search existing customers, either by name. We've created a label for these so that it brings up the survey type and the customer. You can also view them by the map and see where they're at that way. But where they didn't have it available when we first launched the software, we decided to use the web app builder. We had originally started in the operations dashboard, but it was a little clunky to use, so we decided to switch over to the web app viewer, which was a little sleeker and a little easier for them to use. So to filter, we can search for a client. So we'll just search for the one we just did. So we can see there and we can view the information. And we did give them this edit app, which would allow them to edit any mistakes they've made along the way. So if they find something that they entered the number wrong, they can go back and change it. The reason they wanted to view existing data is so that they can see if this customer had been contacted before and be able to follow up on some of the services that had been offered previously. So then they can see, follow up, and make more of an impact that way. As far as their analyzing tools, we've put some in here for them so that they can view which type of surveys, where they've got 2 different programs working on here, so they can either filter by a path or a positive interaction survey. They can also select the date. So if they want to see the only ones that have been done the last couple of days or last week, they can filter and see those. Some of the others, they can also search by the business and the services offered, so they can see how many services have been offered that week or that day, and also filter by the field crew. So if they want to be able to see where the field crew is going across the city, they can filter by the collected by, and it shows just the ones they've been collecting. Another quick analysis tool that we added that we like is the charts option. So that allows them to do a quick chart to see what's available at the time. So we can either do by a spatial limitation, that's the current map extent, or do a user-defined. So we'll go ahead and run it for the full map. And it gives a quick summary and highlights each one that's in the different programs. but we can zoom out and run it again, and it'll only give us the ones in this area. So you can see 2 and 2. They can also run some quick demographic charts so that they can see kind of who they're contacting and information about them. Another great one is the total contact time, so they can see their total time for the week of who they've been contacting, or for the month, or however they decide to filter that, because the filters can be used with the charts. So if we only want to filter for the last couple of days, we can run the chart again, and it'll only do it for those days. So it's nice that these two widgets work together and can give us just information that we're seeking. So when we're creating their reports, they can filter by the positive interactions, because that's what they need to submit to the city. So we can bring up just those surveys. And to export it quickly, instead of going into the feature service and trying to export it to a CSV and just selecting, filtering out the data, we can set the filter in here, and then we can open up the attributes table. So it'll only give us the surveys that have positive interactions. And under options, you can export out to CSV. And that makes a quick report that they can send over. Looks like we had the one selected, so if we do it for all of them, you can see that they've got all the positive interaction surveys there, and can easily then email it to the city for their report for the week. Okay, so now that we've replaced their paper form that they were originally collecting data with, what else can we do with Survey 123? So one thing that they don't have a good workflow for is for when they receive those referrals and requests for support, they don't have anywhere to put them in. So we decided to create another survey for them. Oh, actually, let's wait for that. So when we were building the survey for them, so this is what I was speaking of on the appearances, where you can have different choices, and you can select different options in here. So when we had those drop downs, we could select the different types that they were. And for getting the different types of survey information, we'd use this relevance field so that it would answer off the question before, and then it would filter just the ones that you needed. So back to their requests. So we've started to create this other survey forum, which is a public survey, which can be shared with any organization or any person that wants to submit a request. They can download the app and just collect the data and send it to them. So a request number, they don't have the options for automatically populating just like a number in there, so we created, it pulls the UID off of that. So that'll be a number that is unique to their request number, and this they will copy in to the other survey when they actually go talk to the client or business that this request is for. So they'll fill out their request date, and they'll put their name. So we made it required that they have to put their name and their phone number in there for when they submit this public request. And they can decide which kind of request it needs to be. So, and that's multi-select, so they can do both if they need it. And then they can put a description of the problem. And then we have this section down here that is for the CLR employees only. So this is a portion that the public would submit, and they can go ahead and send now. And for the field crews to be able to know that there has been a request submitted, they can go and look in their inbox. And we have it filtered to only show the ones that are currently open. So this is the one that we just filled out. So now if they come back in here, they can switch the contacted to yes and put the date in there and put any notes regarding the case in, and then they can submit it again. And it removes it from the inbox. So the impact that Survey 123 has had on this organization is that they're able to easily see tracking patterns. For before they didn't have any sort of mapping option, so now they can see heat maps to see the areas with the high concentration of surveys being submitted. So they're easily able to determine where they need to send their field crews instead of just sending them randomly throughout the city. They can send them to those areas that need it the most. The analyzing tools have also helped them to determine where they're at throughout the month instead of just getting a report at the end and being able to submit that. They can see problems and trends in the data. So that's what we have for now. So we'll go ahead and wrap up this webinar. Do any of you have any questions that you would like to ask? Okay, and we'll do another polling question. So if you'd like to receive any more info, go ahead and click yes, and we'll get in contact with you.